Hi there. My name is Kara Kaup. I'm a pediatric physical therapist from Edmonton, Alberta. I'm also a person living with long COVID. As well, I've been part of the long COVID physio organization since its inception in 2021. In February of 2024, I had the pleasure of presenting with Dr. Angela Grace and Jennifer Thompson at the Central Alberta Teachers Convention, CATCA, in Red Deer, Alberta. The topic of our presentation is what educators need to know about children living with chronic illness, post-viral illnesses, and long COVID. We've taken the content from that presentation and broken it down into different modules and recorded it here for you today so that you can watch different sections at different times when it works for you. So I'm just going to go on here and share my slides. Okay. So this is module 5. So hopefully you watched module 3 where I described some common symptoms of long COVID in children and what you might observe in your students and how they might describe it. Angela just covered some severe inflammatory issues and neuropsychiatric issues that can occur in children with long COVID in module 4. So for module 5, I'd like to suggest some school and classroom-based accommodations, along with some instructional and academic modifications that you could put into place in the school or in your classroom with your students who might be living with long COVID. So let's talk about the basic principles for you to approach your students with long COVID. Firstly, let's do no harm. You don't need to know how to diagnose a child with long COVID, but you do need to know enough to not cause any harm to them. There are certain things that kids with long COVID can't tolerate, and if they push it, then it makes them worse. So you can see the Maslow's hierarchy of long COVID needs that was developed by the Long COVID Kids organization here. So first of all, please be compassionate with children with long COVID or other post-viral illnesses. Please listen to them and believe them when they're sharing all the weird symptoms that are going on in their body. Like I said in module 3, lots of them are being gaslit and not believed by their friends, family, or even healthcare providers. And if a parent is asking you for accommodations, please accommodate them. Having a child with long COVID is extremely stressful for parents, and they're just doing the best they can to try and support their child and get them to school or participate in their learning as much as they can. Please have open communication with your parents and report any changes that you might notice in their behavior, or if your students are complaining of anything in particular, or if you notice any of these types of symptoms that we've been discussing. And lastly, a child's education is extremely important, but their overall health and well-being may need to take priority over their school attendance and their learning needs. So I've listed some suggested school accommodations here for you. And as I said in the previous module, all of these suggestions come from children that I know personally who are living with long COVID, or from the Long COVID Kids website, or from the Long COVID Families websites, or just from my many years of experience working with children with other disabilities and trying to let them have as successful an experience as possible while they're in school. So there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Each student will need an individualized and flexible approach. So again, please believe your student when they tell you that they don't feel right. Ask them, how can I help? Remember that your student wants to appear well, so they might be faking that they feel better than they actually are. A lot of us with long COVID actually do that and fake that we're doing better than we actually feel inside. It's also really difficult to ask for help, and children may have difficulty expressing themselves to you, and this might make them feel anxious. So just to encourage that conversation with them. Next, understand that school absences will happen. This is needed so that the child can rest and pace to manage their learning needs and the rest of the things that they need to do during their week. So many children will only go to school in the afternoons, or only a few days per week, or on alternate days, or they may need to do all of their learning online for a while with planned rest periods throughout their day at home. Or they may need to do a blend of in-school and online learning. As well, long COVID is an episodic and unpredictable condition, so their symptoms may change from day to day. So their in-school attendance will vary and needs to be individualized depending on what their energy envelope is and how they're feeling that week. So flexibility is really key with reassessment at planned intervals. And also just be aware of the pressures on the child to attend school. It might be self-imposed, it might be from friends, might be from family, or it might be from teachers or other people at the school. So just really be aware of that when you're trying to do what's best for your student. So for older children, I tried to sort of group these into older children and younger children. So for older children, you might need to reduce the number of assignments they need to complete for assessment. They may need exemptions from a few exams, or they may need to reduce the amount of assignments that they're doing, or they may need to reduce their assignments or classes if their symptoms get worse. You might need to provide a longer time for tasks or assignments or exams. You might need to administer tests in a quiet room rather than having them in a busy classroom with lots of people. Please let the family know well in advance about special projects or exams, as they need to plan, prioritize, and pace their energy leading up to that deadline. And they may also need to miss more school leading up to this event. And they may need to prioritize their core subjects. And unfortunately, they may need to drop some of their electives, but with a finite amount of energy, they need to focus on where it's most important. Your student may need to reduce the amount of writing or copying from the whiteboard. You might need to provide extra materials for them. They might need a set of books for home. Allow your student to have rest periods throughout the day where they can put their head down on their desk or go to a quiet space to lay down for 20 to 30 minutes. This resting and pacing principle not only applies to physical activity, but it also applies to cognitive work. So they need to rest their brains. So this is an example of pacing so that your student can last longer during the school day and will help them to pace themselves for the school tasks that lay ahead. So like I say, it's not just resting their body physically, but it's resting their body cognitively as well. Both younger and older children would appreciate if you can develop a discrete signal with them to indicate when they need help. And this specifically came from a teenager. Also, you might need to develop a signal or an exit pass so that the child can leave the classroom without an excuse if they're feeling unwell or if they need to go have a rest. Your student may need to modify or withdraw from phys ed or gym. So please, 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 again, remember to screen for post-exertional symptom exacerbation. And if their symptoms get worse with physical activity, it's very, very important that they be excused for gym and they don't push through those symptoms. Otherwise, they'll become sicker and sicker and lose more of their basic function. So exercise is not recommended for people who experience post-exertional symptom exacerbation. So again, that's one of the most important messages I want to get across to you guys in this entire presentation. Your student may need to use an elevator if you're fortunate to have that in your school, or they maybe need to give extra time for them to move between classrooms. Now, for the younger students, you may need to give them alternate activities such as coloring or drawing if you're noticing that they're quite fatigued. They may need a chair for assemblies or in activities where they're expected to stand in a line. So some kids might be lining up outside the school to go in for kindergarten and grade 1, but these children won't be able to stand in a line for that time, so maybe you could put a chair out for them there. They may need extra support to sit comfortably, so this means having their feet supported either on the floor or on a stable base of support, and then their hips and knees should be at 90 degrees, and they might need some more support for their back or for their trunk. For some children with long COVID, it's difficult for them to sit without support because they're quite weak throughout their trunk. They may need a buddy system to help carry their books, and they might need you to provide alternatives at recess time. So they may not be able to go outside and play with everybody on the field. So if you could set them up with a friend that they could play quietly with outside or inside in a quieter setting. And here are just some, again, suggestions, but try to provide instructions in simple language that's in smaller chunks and shorter sentences. And it's just easier for people who have processing problems to understand what you're saying. For younger children, you might want to try color coding for different subjects so that when kids see the red slides, they know it's math time and to get out their math books. And when they see blue slides, they know it's language arts times and to get out their language art books. So these were wonderful examples that were given to me from a grade 1 teacher that I thought were really good ideas. So lastly, just sort of some general accommodations. So kids might need to be in a quieter, dimmer, calmer environment. They might need noise canceling headphones just to block out all the extra noise in the classroom. They might need a space where they can go to just rest, lay down, do some gentle breathing and relax. They may need quieter options in the activities that you're asking them to do, whether that be coloring or maybe listening to music for a little while if they are feeling overwhelmed in class, just to give them a bit of a break. And again, just remember, children want to feel included. They want to be at school. They want to be with their friends. So try and think of ways that you can include them with their peers in the different activities. So, again, as I said, maybe they can't run around in the field with their friends at recess, but they can do some sort of quiet activity with a special friend, or, letting them have a small break during recess time. So yeah, anything that you can do that can help them participate as much as possible. And understand that children are going to have good days and bad days. Long COVID is episodic and unpredictable and super frustrating. Sometimes they may be able to do one thing on a certain day and then they can't do it on the next day. And then lastly, understand that the child might need to miss school for an event that gives them joy. And this was really highlighted to me with a young lady that I met who is 15 with long COVID, and she used to competitive danced, I don't know, more than 20 or 25 hours a week. And she has long COVID and ME/CFS. And so she attends school part days. And she is able to dance for sort of half an hour or 45 minutes once or twice a week. And so that's an activity that she really, really enjoys. And so sometimes if she's having a rougher week with more symptoms, she might miss an afternoon of school so that she has enough energy to dance that evening. So it's just really important to make sure that they still have things or activities in their life that give them joy. So lastly, here I've included 3 case studies from the Long COVID Kids Educational Toolkit, which is an excellent resource to look at. It shows real life examples of accommodations that were made for children with long COVID in their schools, and I won't go into reading them in detail, but you can reference them later in the slides. But just know that your support and your validation and your accommodations will go a long way to ensure that these students will have a successful educational experience. So again, here is a list of potential resources for you to access. The Recover website has some of the latest research and webinars that are happening in long COVID with children. The Long COVID Kids and Long COVID Families websites are where I took some of my information for this presentation. They are both excellent websites for various resources to help you understand about long COVID in children, and they've got lots of stories about real life from kids who are dealing with long COVID. The Pacing Penguins and Cautious Tortoise handouts are both excellent. The Long COVID Kids has a number of videos that are great to watch, and their educational toolkit is quite comprehensive. And the Long COVID Families has a link to an excellent pacing guide for kids with ME/CFS or long COVID. So I'd strongly recommend that you look at both of those websites. I highlighted the Long COVID Physio video series in my previous presentation. They also have a number of resource handouts and other links that might be helpful for you that are listed on our Long COVID Physio website. The Bateman Horn Center website link is another excellent source of information with handouts, videos, links to articles for people who are living with or working with people with long COVID or other post-viral illnesses. And they've been working with people with post-viral illnesses for a very long time. So they have lots of experience, and we're learning a lot from the ME/CFS population. Again, there's that link to the Unrest documentary about a woman on her journey to find a diagnosis and treatment for ME/CFS. Standing Up to POTS is another excellent link with resources and suggestions for how to manage school when you're living with POTS. So again, thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentations. I hope that we've given you information that will be helpful for you to recognize long COVID symptoms in children that you're teaching, and will help you to provide support and accommodations to your students who are living with long COVID or other post-viral illness so that they can be as successful as possible at school. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm going to stop sharing here and have a super day.